let's see what he had to say, I guess, after having like 36 hours, well, like close to 2 days to respond. I'm very excited for, I think in his words, he said he had a lot of evidence to show. So I'm excited to see the evidence that he's going to show us, right? He tweeted out, I'm gathering all the information and evidence to share. I think this is a pre-recorded video. I haven't seen any of it, so I'm not sure. The TLDR on this is that a content creator that goes by Katie Bugs came out and said that she was sexually assaulted by GeorgeNotFound. She didn't name him by name, but everybody else basically provided context and said that it was him. And there were a lot of other people like Karl, Jacobs, that like disavowed him. A lot of people who he was friends with that did not come to his defense and went to the victim's defense. And basically she alleges that she was 18, he was 26 at the time, and she felt like there is a significant power imbalance, and she was incredibly drunk while he sexually assaulted her in front of other people. Goldfits, thank you for the 6 months. So I guess let's go. Again, for anyone who's saying that the ads were still on the stream, Twitch doesn't let you turn off all the ads. It's very fucked up, but yeah. Okay.
I want to start off this stream by saying that this stream is completely demonetized. I've turned off ads. I've turned off donations. However, I cannot turn off subs, but just don't sub. But regardless, any sub money that is generated during the stream, I will donate to charity. In the stream, I'm going to be talking about some very serious topics, including assault, abuse, and things of sexual nature. So if any of these are triggering topics for you, please be aware of that and be cautious. Recently, a streamer named Katie Bugs went live and told a story involving me about sexual assault. So in this stream, I'm going to be addressing it. I was originally planning on doing this all live, and that's why I originally tweeted saying that I would be live the day that it happened, but I simply did not feel comfortable doing it live and needed to make sure that I had all the details in place and
which, to be honest, is, in my opinion, the smart thing to do. Anytime you are either talking about someone else, making allegations about someone else, or responding to allegations, you really, I disagree with the live streaming format just in general. It should be a video.
Just wanted to make sure it was all perfect as it happened. So today I sat down, talked straight into this camera, laid out all my thoughts, and then essentially just edited out the blank spaces where I was sitting here thinking about what to say, and then also added some screenshots for context. And I'm going to be playing that video now. I'm going to be telling the whole story, so it might not seem like everything is completely relevant, but I do need to tell the whole story for it to make sense and to fully inform you guys. So please watch the video in its entirety before forming opinions, as this is very important. Finally, before I play the video, do not send hate to Katie. That is not the goal of this, and I do not want you guys doing that. So let's play the video. See you later, guys.
Sorry, I haven't had breakfast, so I'm just like trying to eat something quickly so my brain is on. But I don't want you guys to hear me munching, especially over such a serious topic. Just got here. Is she muted? Stop it. I appreciate him telling people to not go and harass the victim. It's like, I know it's the bare minimum and everything, but the number of content creators that do not say that makes me very frustrated. So I do appreciate that.
And I do not want you guys doing that. So let's play the video. See you later, guys. Okay, so this is my side of the story of the 2 times that I ever interacted with Katie Bugs in real life. So the first time that I met her, it was in Dream's hotel room at VidCon. To give context about Dream's hotel room, essentially, it was a bigger room than average. It's not just a bed in a room like a typical hotel room is. Essentially, it's there was a living room, there was a table, and the bedroom was kind of separated from it. And for this reason, we used his hotel room essentially as a place where all of our friends could hang out in. VidCon is a 4-day long event, so we actually used it quite frequently throughout these 4 days. And we had creators, friends in and out of this room throughout the whole event. Now, the first night that I actually met Katie, I was with Dream in his hotel room, and Dream was in a group chat with 5 other people. These 5 people included Katie Bugs, her best friend, and 3 other of her friends. Now, these 5 people, they're at an official VidCon after party, and they wanted Dream to go meet up with them and hang out with them. But Dream actually didn't want to hang out with them, and the reason is because at the time he was wearing his Dream mask a lot, and he felt uncomfortable wearing it because it's a whole mask on your face. So he just didn't want to go to the party particularly. He even suggested that they shouldn't come because he was assuming that they were having more fun where they were. They reassured him that that wasn't the case. They were bored and they wanted him to come. So now these 5 people are trying to come to the hotel, but the problem with that is to get into the hotel, you need to have a VidCon creator badge. And only 2 of the people in the group chat actually had this badge. That was Katie and her best friend. So eventually what happened is Katie and 2 of her other friends came to Dream's hotel room. This was my first time actually meeting them in real life. I didn't even know who they were before meeting them. And then we essentially just were playing drinking games in the hotel room. We were just having fun, talking with each other. Nothing crazy in particular. Now, one thing Casey said retrospectively, looking back at the scenario, is that I was flirting with her throughout the night and that she was uncomfortable with this because of our age difference. At the time, she was 18 and I was 26. She actually assumed I didn't know her age because she had never said it. But then later, I had actually DM'd her on Instagram. And because of this, she says that it is confirmed that I know her age. To give some context to this scenario and to why I didn't know her age, my perspective of things is that I am with people that are over the age of 21 in a scenario where we are doing things that people that are over the age of 21 are doing, like drinking. And also the people that came from an event where they had very heavy security. This was an official VidCon after
I
party. And with previous VidCon after parties, I even had problems getting into these events. There was one time where they didn't let me in because they couldn't confirm the legitimacy of my UK ID. They said they weren't trained to look at foreign IDs. So they didn't even let me in despite me being 26 at the time. And also since Casey's stream,
this is
I've gone
very
back and reviewed texts from the time.
I want to take a quick pause here really quickly. Um this is, I feel like, very similar to the lady with the ukulele, Colleen Ballinger's instance, where the question is not why did you assault? The question is, why are you talking to your fans this way? Like, you know that there is a significant power imbalance. Not to say, to be very clear, not to say that like you could never become someone's friend if you were initially a fan. I think isn't it the case that Donkey and his wife like met because she was a fan of his content? Or am I mistaken? I might be thinking of someone else. Does anyone know? Anyone here a Donkey fan that knows the Donkey lore? Regardless, I think that that's correct. It was PewDiePie as well. Drew Gooden and his wife met that way. So my point is, it's possible to break that barrier and to go from fan to friend or fan to partner or whatever. It just should be done very responsibly. I don't know, maybe not when someone is drunk. I don't know, maybe when someone is not 18. Maybe there should be maybe they should be in close age range. I think Tyler 1 and Michaela. Actually, you're right. Actually, right. Taylor 1 and Michaela are a great example. So I think it's fine. I think it's just like you just establish like a rapport and you become friends first. And then if either of you wanted to pursue something, that's fine. That's not like, I don't think that there's anything inherently problematic. But you should not be talking to fans. This is my opinion. I don't know if this is mean. I don't even think you should be messaging fans that are like under 21. Like if I see in your bio that you are under 21, I'm sorry if you send the sweetest message on the planet. I am not going to respond. And that is just like my rule of thumb. Because I think it is the best thing to do for everyone in that context. Because I just have too much power in that dynamic. Why 21? Well, because I think at 21, you have at least a few more life experiences than when you're just 18, when you've just turned 18. And 21 seems to be the age where we think adults can start making basically all of their own decisions. Of course, I also wouldn't assault someone, but that's besides the point. In general, because I know how much more power I have in that dynamic, being a creator and then having someone who's a fan or someone who would at least describe themselves as a fan. I just think it's a bad idea to even be talking to someone like that. I think it's just a bad idea. Because I think it's one thing to be like, if a fan messages me something and I respond to them and they're like 22 or 23 and the conversation, I've never done this, but the conversation was like romantic or sexual in nature. It's like, I don't feel that bad. It's like, it's a 23-year-old, or like a 22-year-old. It's like, that doesn't feel like problematic. It doesn't feel like I'm taking advantage of someone with no life experiences. As a German who bought beer and wine at 16 and hard liquor at 18, I agree. 18 and 21 is a big difference in maturity. Oh yeah, I mean, like, I don't know about other people, but for me, at 18, I had taken no college classes, and at 21, I had taken 3 years of college classes. Like, and I had a lot more interactions with adults. So I feel like it was a big difference for me. And this is just like a general rule of thumb that I prescribe to other people as well. Just just don't talk to your fans if they're under a certain age. Don't do it. I'm not like an asshole. Like, if you are underage, if you're like 16 and you show up at like a fan meetup or a community meetup or something, I'm not gonna be like, I can't talk to minors. Sorry, you look like a minor. I don't talk to minors. Like, just be normal. Just be normal. Does it feel weird to do? Don't do it. Does it not feel weird to do? It's okay. Yeah. Leave. I don't like children. Leave. My thing is also, it's not even the amount of experience they have. If they're too young, they're too young. The idea being that, like, at 18, there is no way that you have enough life experiences to be making sound decisions. Because I don't think that there's any problem with, like, people being in safe environments wanting to drink at 18. Like, I feel like Sorry for the EU people that don't understand Ameribrain. Um, I feel like most people probably had alcohol at 18. Maybe most people in here had it, but, like, you had it from, like, your parents' liquor cabinet, or you had it with, like, just you and your buddies, and you're like, "This alcohol is gonna be crazy," and then you drink it, and you're like, "It's the worst thing you've ever had in your life." Um, there's not anything wrong with that. There's not anything wrong with that. In Canada, you can't even drink until 19? Really? Most people have had beers at 16? Yeah, yeah. It's just maybe in an environment with a lot of strangers, you should be making sure that the people that are under 21 aren't drinking too much or drinking. Definitely not being coerced to drink. And it's also not hard to do this. Let me find, it was the Island Boys, or no, it was a clip from a live stream. There, it's like a white dude, and I think he's white. He's white presenting, anyways. And he's fully tatted up, and there's a girl that comes on their like podcast. It was the Island Boys, yes. Okay, cool. I was like, I couldn't remember. Um, and he looks at her, and he's like, "Well, how old are you?" And she's like, "I'm 18." And he's like, "I need you to leave," because they were about to be drinking alcohol on stream, and he's like, "I need you to leave. Like, you need to go. No, really." And she's like laughing because she thinks he's just joking. And he's like, "No, I'm serious, respectfully. Like, you have to go. I don't know who let you in, but I I don't know who let someone in that's 18. You have to go." It's not hard. It's not hard to do that. He got so serious all of a sudden. Respect. Yeah. Again, I'm not gonna be able to find the clip. I think it'll be too hard, too far away, but you guys know which one I'm talking about. He also didn't even say, "I need you to leave." He straight up said, "Get out of my house." Yeah. But he did not like insult her or blame her for being there. He blamed someone else for letting her in. Because you, as the adult in that scenario, have the responsibility to be the responsible one. Also, hi, Nandre. Hi, Nandre. I don't know if you're still here, but one time Dream and George showed up without being invited to my friend's party. Huge jump scare. I think I've shared this story with you guys, but I was there. And that was a fun party. It was a fun party. Did I share this story? I think it's okay to share the story. I generally don't like to share my interactions or like detailed interactions that I have with other content creators, just because I do think that there is some privacy that I think should be respected. And it's like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, or whatever the fuck white women be saying. But in the case of Dream and in the case of GeorgeNotFound, I feel comfortable sharing those stories. But yeah, there was a party at a friend's house. It's a pretty big party, a lot of people. I'm hanging out. Like the nerd that I am, I'm talking to the people who are running the photo booth, that were hired to run the photo booth. That is me at the party. Instead of talking to any of the people who are here at the party to be at the party, I'm talking to the one person that's working. To be fair, they initiated the conversation with me because I had seen them at a different party doing the same thing. So I was not bothering a worker. They were bothering me. Not actually bothering, but they were the one who approached me and insisted on talking and stuff. So anyways, and then Dream and George show up. And I liked this friend of ours who hosts these parties. I like them. I like a lot of the people who show up to these little parties and stuff. But that was like a really overcrowded party with way too many people. And I like the beginning of the party and the end of the party when things are like settling down and there's only the cool people left. And so I show up at the party. It's way too packed at this point. And this guy starts talking to me, friend of Dreams. And then he says, "Oh, I'm going to invite Dream and to come by." I'm like, "Oh, it's not my house. You ask somebody else. I don't know. It's not." And so I guess he invites him. They show up. They stay for a total of like maybe 5 minutes at the party. And then this friend is like, "Hey, we're going to a club." We being Dream, George, and this other third party. And they're like, "Do you want to join us?" And I was like, I look around at the party and I'm like, there's still way too many people here. So, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. Let's go. We'll go. I'll stay for like an hour or two. And then I'll come back. And then people should have settled out of the party. Things should have settled down. And only the cool people should be left at the party. So I'm like, perfect. Let's go do it. So I go. And this is when I told you guys about the one conversation I've had with GeorgeNotFound, where it was just an Uber ride of me explaining socialism and moneyless, classless societies. And then him being confused. It's like, honestly, it was like a surreal experience. Like I can't even believe it actually even happened. Like it's so surreal. So surreal. Yeah, I know. Most leftist thing possible. I know. So yeah, I'm having a good time cracking some yolks, talking about uh random political content, whatever. Having a good time. Show up at the club. I don't dance, so I'm just chilling there, sipping on my vodka crayons, as one does. And it honestly was I don't like clubs. They're too loud. So I'm just there and I'm like, probably leave in like 30 minutes or something. This is boring. I got what I came for. Okay, I had a fun experience. Now I can go back. But I make sure to do something before I leave. All right. Okay. There was a moment where, you know, when people say you're scaring the hose away. You know when people say that? The meme joke, whatever. Dream, in reference to some other conversation, says, "Guys, you're scaring the hose away," to describe, I think, like other women at the party or whatever, or the club or whatever. And I turn to Dream and I say, "Oh my God, that's terrible. We can't scare the hose away. We have to find you someone that's over 18. And his face was so amazing. He was like, he's like, "Oh, you're funny." "Oh, you funny." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right, I am." And then I like to live life for the experiences. Okay. And I like to be the person that I wish I was. And I will pretend to be that person. Because I want to be that person. Fake it till you make it or whatever. So then I go back to the party. It has in fact settled down after like this 2-hour adventure. And everyone's like, "Did you just go in an Uber with these people?" I was like, "Yeah, it was really funny. I'll tell you guys." And then I share the same story I just told you guys now. Oh. So, yeah, that was a fun, 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 that was little experience I thought I would share with you guys. Again, generally speaking, I don't really share stories that happen at events and stuff, mostly because there's nothing illegal or immoral happening. It's just people's lives and stuff, and not anything really interesting. But I thought that would be a fun story. So that is that's the entirety of my experience with these people. Denims almost becomes a Minecraft streamer with political sides. Yeah. Why did I share that? Anyways, I guess more to the point. If there's anyone who will talk shit to and about Dream or any of these people, it's me. Okay? It's me. Seemingly, Dream is not involved really in this, other than the fact that it was his hotel. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see. We'll see. You went to a party or something? Yeah. And then the party settled down. There was like only 10 people, all the cool people. And I was like, finally, my type of party. Okay. Let's watch the rest of that. Let's watch the rest of this video, shall we?
And there was actually a picture where it was shown that they had this 21 plus wristband on one of their wrists. So from my perspective, it's a bunch of 21 plus year olds hanging out. And I have no reason to think otherwise, other than her Instagram bio, but I just didn't see it. But anyway, nothing actually particularly happened at this first night.
I feel like I don't buy that. The only time I don't see things in bios the only time I don't see stuff in bios is like when they have way too much text in their fucking bio. If it looked the way that it does now, it's literally in her name. Like when you look her up on Instagram, will this show up? You can see here when I look up Katie Bug, it literally says in the search bar, it shows her screen name in it. Now, I don't know if it's been like that since the incident, but it does in fact say that. So we'll see. We'll see.
That we were hanging out, everything was very friendly. We went our separate ways, and that's the end of the first night. And then the second time that we hung out was the next night after this. So we wake up the next day, we do VidCon stuff. After we're done, that's the final day of VidCon. So VidCon is now technically over, but we have one more night in the hotel before we need to leave the next morning. And actually at this point, I actually had a friend that I had only known online meet up with me for the first time. And the whole time I'd known him, he lived in a different country. He was actually living in Japan. And I had told him I was going to VidCon, and he actually just happened to be in California at the same date. So the dates aligned. And we made plans.
Who is he talking about?
Now,
I'm sorry, who is he? What city did this happen in? I believe they host VidCon in Anaheim, California, every single year, unless I'm mistaken, and they've hosted it in other places. Yeah, it looks like they've done it in LA in 2010, 2011, and then Anaheim since 2012. Which for anyone who doesn't know, Anaheim is like about an hour or two away from LA. So very, very close to LA. That's where this was happening.
He arrived early evening. I think it was around 5, 6 p.m. We were just hanging out in my room. Dream messaged me. I'm bored. Can you come to my room? Let's hang out, essentially. That's what we did. Me and my friend that I just met physically. I mean, I knew him online. Went up to Dream's room and we were hanging out. And again, the same scenario happens from the night before. They are trying to get him to go out to another party that they were at. And same story, Dream didn't want to go, but was open to them coming here. And again, that is what happened. But this time, their friends were actually all able to get in. I don't know how they did it, but Katie, her best friend, and 3 other of her friends ended up coming to the room, which had me, Dream, and my online friend that I just met. So 8 people total in this room at this point. This night was very similar to the one before. We were just hanging out, playing games, drinking, and just having a good time. So something I actually want to point out before I continue with the rest of the story is the way that she phrases some things in her story. Instead of saying that her and the rest of her friends actually wanted to come to the hotel to hang out with us, she said that one friend was invited by Dream, but she didn't want to go alone. So then they decided to go along with her because they were willing to go anywhere. I just think it's important to note already that the story is slightly different from the reality of it. And I'll be mentioning this a few more times throughout. I'll know who they, what that is. To get into the hotel, you need to have a VidCon creator badge.
Sorry, I muted because I was farting. I'm just kidding. Women don't fart. It's not possible. I just wanted to listen to this again because he showed a bunch of text messages and he didn't read any of them out loud. Like he didn't read them. So I want to sit down and read them myself because I didn't realize that he wasn't reading them until just right now. I don't know why I didn't.
Badge. And only 2 of the people in the group chat actually had this badge. That was Katie and her best friend. So eventually what happened is Katie and 2 of her other friends came to Dream's hotel room. This was my first time actually meeting them in real life. I didn't even know who they were before meeting them. And then we essentially just were playing drinking games in the hotel room. We were just having fun, talking with each other. Nothing crazy in particular. Now, one thing Katie said retrospectively, looking back at the scenario, is that I was flirting with her throughout the night and that she was uncomfortable with this because of our age difference. At the time, she was 18 and I was 26. She actually assumed I didn't know her age because she had never said it. But then later, I had actually DM'd her on Instagram. And because of this, she says that it is confirmed that I know her age. To give some context to this scenario and to why I didn't know her age, my perspective of things is that I am with people that are over the age of 21 in a scenario where we are doing things that people that are over the age of 21 are doing, like drinking. And also the people that came from an event where they had very heavy security. This was an official VidCon after party. And with previous VidCon after parties, I even had problems getting into these events. There was one time where they didn't let me in because they couldn't confirm the legitimacy of my UK ID. They said they weren't trained to look at foreign IDs. So they didn't even let me in despite me being 26 at the time. And also since Casey's stream, I've gone back and reviewed texts from the time, and there was actually a picture where it was shown that they had this 21 plus wristband on one of their one of their wrists. So from my perspective, it's a bunch of 21 plus year olds hanging out. And I have no reason to think otherwise, other than her Instagram bio, but I just didn't see it. But anyway, nothing actually particularly happened at this first night that we were hanging out. Everything was very friendly. We went our separate ways, and that's the end of the first night. And then the second time that we hung out was the next night after this. So we wake up the next day, we do VidCon stuff. After we're done, that's the final day of VidCon. So VidCon is now technically over, but we have one more night in the hotel before we need to leave the next morning. And actually, at this point, I actually had a friend that I had only known online meet up with me for the first time. And the whole time I'd known him, he lived in a different country. He was actually living in Japan. And I had told him I was going to VidCon, and he actually just happened to be in California at the same date. So the dates aligned, and we made plans to meet up. Now, he arrived early evening. I think it was around 5, 6 p.m. We were just hanging out in my room. Dream messaged me, "I'm bored. Can you come to my room? Let's hang out," essentially. That's what we did. Me and my friend that I just met physically. I mean, I knew him online. Went up to Dream's room, and we were hanging out. And again, the same scenario happens from the night before. They are trying to get him to go out to another party that they were at. And same story. Dream didn't want to go, but was open to them coming here. And again, that is what happened. But this time, Their friends were actually all able to get in. I don't know how they did it, but Katie, her best friend, and 3 other of her friends ended up coming to the room, which had me, Dream, and my online friend that I just met. So 8 people total in this room at this point. This night was very similar to the one before. We were just hanging out, playing games, drinking, and just having a good time. So something I actually want to point out before I continue with the rest of the story is the way that she phrases some things in her story. Instead of saying that her and the rest of her friends actually wanted to come to the hotel to hang out with us, she said that one friend was invited by Dream, but she didn't want to go alone. So then they decided to go along with her because they were willing to go anywhere. I just think it's important to note already that the story is slightly different from the reality of it. And I'll be mentioning this a few more times throughout the rest of the story. You can see in these screenshots from the text at the time that they were all trying to come to the hotel, and it
Okay, well, let's see this proof that he's saying is like,
actually all able to get in. I don't know how they did it, but Katie, her best friend, and 3 other of her friends ended up coming to the room, which had me, Dream, and my online friend that I just met. So 8 people total in this room at this point. This night was very similar to the one before. We were just hanging out, playing games, drinking, and just having a good time. So something I actually want to point out before I continue with the rest of the story is the way that she phrases some things in her story. Instead of saying that her and the rest of her friends actually wanted to come to the hotel to hang out with us, she said that one friend was invited by Dream, but she didn't want to go alone. So then they decided to go along with her because they were willing to go anywhere. I just think
okay, so he's showing these text messages to prove that she has lied in her video by saying, basically to cast doubt on her statements. By saying, look at these text messages. It wasn't that she was going for her friend's sake. She was going because she wanted to go. So let's see the text messages and see if that proves what he's saying it proves. How old is this guy, by the way? He's 27. He was 26 at the time. Okay, sorry. Let's she says, could you borrow a pass or two? Oh, wait, no. He says, could you borrow a pass or two? And she says, yes, blank just got one, LMFAO. And he says, try to get one for blank. She says, on a mission.
it's important to note already that the story is slightly different.
And then these are different people. I don't know which one is her or not her because he doesn't specify. But person A says, we'll keep you updated if they remove the barriers. Person B says, Clay, I need to piss so bad. So whatever we are doing, we got to speed run it. A third person says, it's in a group chat. That might be easier for us to get them in. Ha 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 ha. And he says, yeah, it'll be quick.
From the reality of it. And I'll be mentioning this a few more times throughout the rest of
Me, Blank, and Katie coming back to the Hyatt. I'm going to be honest, so far, maybe the next screenshot is important. So far, none of these screenshots say what he's saying they do. Oh, yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Dream's name is Clay.
the story. You can see in these screenshots from the text at the time.
So person A says 13 minutes, our guy is speeding. Person B says LMAO. George says, you guys are going to the parking lot or where? We need to discreetly give blank a pass. Person A says, I don't know. And then George says, I'm having one of my guys come out and meet you, give her a pass, and then walk you all in so no one notices her. And then a third person says, let's strat. A fourth person says, cool, sounds splendid to me. Good shit, my go. Now, red is probably Sapnap? Okay. I don't understand what this is. This doesn't prove that she didn't go for herself. Like, this doesn't prove. Sapnap wasn't there that night? Oh. How is you talking about sneaking people in helping debunk her statement? I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. What kind of proof is this? This is why, guys, okay? If you ever get embroiled in online controversy, just don't assault people, first off. But on the off chance that you get embroiled in something and you're trying to prove your innocence or whatever it is, whatever statement you decide to come out with, show it to someone who has no idea what the internet is. Because if you can make it make sense to a normie and it's cut and dry and clear to a normie, then it's good for the internet. But this is like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know what this is supposed to be proving to me. I don't think it's proving to me anything important. But it doesn't. I think it's aiming to try and show that she was aware of the situation and somehow there's some form of consent in here. From the outside, it just makes it look worse for him. Like the bigger problem is like, who in their right mind would message like the people whose hotel you're going to and say, hey, I don't want to come here. I'm just going so my friend isn't alone. No one would ever say that, right? That's just not something you would ever say. You would just be like, yeah, I'm trying to get a ticket. I'm trying to get a badge so I can get in. That's not. Because by sharing the information that you're doing this for your friend, you're putting your friend on blast that they don't feel comfortable around you or around these other people, rather. Excuse me. It would be weird to openly say, yeah, it's kind of like, sharing your location when you go on a date. Like you would never say, oh, I'm sharing my location and in case you fucking kill me, they can find the body. Like you would never say that. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just sharing my location with a friend. She's worried about me. You would make up another reason so that it doesn't come off weird because nobody wants to come off weird. I say that? Oh, I don't. I don't.
That they were all trying to come to the hotel, and it wasn't just oh, we're willing to follow her. Essentially, they were all in the group chat and part of the discussion to go to the hotel. I also chose to mention my online friend. It doesn't really add to the story, but she never mentioned him or the eighth person that she brought with. So I'm just saying it because that's how it happened, and I want to make sure the story is straight. Another thing that she talks about is how we insisted that she drinks more and that we insisted on playing drinking games when this isn't the case. Again, they had already been drinking at this party before they arrived to the hotel room, and they had also been the ones that were asking to play the drinking games. So instead of us insisting that we play it, they were actually the ones that were asking us. And you can see that in the screenshot here. They had actually texted multiple times.
Clay, what was that app you were using for the most likely to game? It's on my secret app. It's my secret app that you can only access on my phone with me. Oh, he's just joking. Wow. And then Katie Bug says, shut the fuck up. I'll find it. And then this other person says, okay, we're going to see her. Okay. And then Katie Bugs posts the picture of the most likely to drinking game. So I understand why he's showing this. He's showing this to show that, like, let me start over. I think George is showing this specific screenshot to prove that they were not organizing this in an attempt to coerce girls to get incredibly drunk. Which I think that is a valid distinction to make because I think that there's something there is something more sinister about preemptively planning it in the way that like murder as like a crime of passion is just different than you meticulously planning how you're going to murder someone. Maybe bad analogy, but just to say that we punish people differently for those things. In the same way that like if you're at a party or like you're at a little social gathering and everybody gets really drunk and maybe you even encourage the drinking, that's different than you having planned it ahead of time, being like, oh yeah, it's premeditated. I'm going to download all these apps. I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah. So I understand that one of these comes off as more predatory. And he's trying to say that that was not their intention. I think that that's important. Or like, I understand why he's doing it. Unfortunately, the bigger crimes at hand are there. Like the assault, which we'll see when he gets to that. And more importantly, you can see when people are too drunk. And you, as a responsible person, I mean, I've played drinking games. I've had friends over for drinking games. And when one person, like, yeah, like maybe we're playing drinking strip Monopoly or something. When one person is clearly uncomfortable or they've drank too much or whatever, it's like, no, you don't have to drink. It's fine. It's fine. You want us to get you like some soda? You can do soda shots or something. Because you are not like you can see someone doesn't feel well or they look really gone. It's like, hey, let's get you something. You do not feel like you have to keep drinking. This is just for fun. Strip Monopoly is weirdly specific example. Ha 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 ha. Functionally, it was very slow. Who would have guessed? When I had way too much to drink in college, the women I was with would always take away my drink and look out for me. Yeah. Yeah, like, I think it's fine if you wanna play drinking games with people, and it's just for fun or whatever. Y'all, I'm starting to get cold, yeah. Did that game even finish? Monopoly is long as fuck. I think we gave up on finishing the game. I think we gave up. We're like, "This game is taking too long." Oh, I remember how we did it. Wow. It's a little dystopian. It was fun. Everyone was having fun. I was having fun. But it was like you could pay off your debt with articles of clothing. So if you land on someone's like property and you have to give them $1,000 that you don't have, you could just take off a sock instead. It was too real. Oh God. Oh, too real, too real. Literally give them the shirt off your back. Yeah. Did it end with a bang? Maybe. Maybe. Paying off my debt with used socks. No, but like in those instances when you're playing drinking games, the number one thing should be it doesn't matter if you're supposed to take a shot. If you don't feel comfortable and you feel ill or you feel like you're way too drunk, it's okay. You don't have to take it. It's okay. We'll just get you some water. Take shots of water. It's really not that. It's just a game for fun. And it's not fun if one person gets so wasted that they're just like throwing up. And I think, and this is my personal perspective, I think when you are the person of authority and power in a room, and you are a person that is older, which makes you even more of a person with authority in a room, that room becomes your responsibility. It's the same reason why in community meetups, I know that I have more power in that instance than anyone else there. And because of that, I can use that power for good. Like if you are Dream in that instance, it's your hotel room. All of these people are basically here because of you. You have the power to shut anything down immediately, and no one is going to really argue with you. Who's going to argue with you? You can just be like, no, we should stop. No, seriously. Seriously, we should stop. And when you have that power, you have to make sure you're being the responsible person. It's kind of like when you're the designated driver, you're not allowed to get drunk. You're supposed to be the driver. Which can be avoided just by avoiding people that are fans or community members or whatever in those type of intimate situations when you don't know anything about them and this is like your first or second time hanging out with them. I disagree that one adult is responsible for another adult's drinking just because of age. I mean, I disagree. I do think if someone there is 18 or you know that someone there is young, if you're one of the older people in that group, I think you have a slight responsibility to make sure that the younger people are doing okay. But we can continue.
Specifically wanting to play this drinking game that we had played the night before. And at this point, I was pretty drunk, and so was basically everyone in this room. It was the last night of VidCon. VidCon's a pretty stressful time, and honestly, a lot of people are happy when it's over. Not that they didn't like it, but it's just a stressful event. There's a lot that you have to do, and when it's over, you're just happy and you want to celebrate. So at this point, we then moved to the couch. There was a couch in the room, and I sit next to Katie. She also says, looking back on the scenario, that she confused her nerves for excitement when I sit next to her. But again, at this moment in time, everything was friendly. Nothing sexual had happened. I'm just literally sitting next to her on the couch. And during this, she was laughing, smiling. She gave no indication that she was uncomfortable with me sitting this close to her. She also mentions that she was thinking about my age and that I was a lot older than her. Again, she was 18 and I was 26 at the time. And again, to clarify, I actually didn't know how old she was, despite her claiming that I did, just because it was in her bio. And it was clear to anyone there that she was not uncomfortable with me sitting next to her. And eventually, two of the people that came to the hotel room left. So then it was just down to me, Dream, my online friend, Katie, Katie's best friend, and a sixth mutual friend. Next, she says, this is a quote, resorted to playing games on her phone to avoid the awkward situation.
I have to hear that again.
She was a lot older. Thing was friendly. Nothing sexual had happened. I'm just literally sitting next to her on the couch. And during this, she was laughing, smiling. She gave no indication that she was uncomfortable with me sitting this close to her. She also mentions that she was thinking about my age and that I was a lot older than her. Again, she was 18 and I was 26 at the time. And again, to clarify, I actually didn't.
No, dude, that's a big difference. And the thing is, for me, it is not the age. All right. Like the number is very irrelevant to me. It's the fact that there is someone there that has significantly less power and has significantly less life experiences than you. And so they haven't learned to stand up for themselves. They haven't learned like anything about themselves, really. Like they probably haven't been in any real relationships. It's the asymmetry of power. Yeah. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, it's possible that maybe you're younger, but if that's not the case, I will say for me, I feel like a completely different person. I felt like a completely different person at 18 and at 22. Like those 4 years made such a huge impact on me in so many ways. So many ways. I knew how to stand up by myself at 19 though. Okay. I'm happy for you. Also, laughing and smiling are both things that most femme people do because they're socially conditioned to do it when they're terrified to try and manage and not escalate the situation. Yeah. Yeah. The laughing and smiling thing isn't great because it's not great proof because women do it a lot to try and like diffuse situations and to try and hide their discomfort. I am down to I think if you're putting yourself in adult shoes, you need to act like an adult. Yeah. I'm down to give him the benefit of the doubt here and say, okay, he didn't realize that she was actually uncomfortable. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he really thought that her laughing and smiling was that she was having a good time. Especially when you are intoxicated or like inebriated or whatever. So I'm fine with giving him that benefit of the doubt there because it doesn't change the fact that she says that she was assaulted. So that's what I'm waiting to hear. Because even if I say all of the other stuff, even if I tell, sorry, excuse me, sorry, even if we believe him and believe what he says when he says, I really did not know that she was uncomfortable. I thought she was having a good time because she was laughing and smiling. That still doesn't change the fact that groping someone's tits like a social gathering in front of a bunch of people when you've just known someone for like maybe a day, that's still, it doesn't matter how much fun someone looks like they're having. That's just one of those things that you just kind of shouldn't do. Oh, he never did that. Watch the whole thing. How about you wait for me to watch the whole thing? How about you wait for me to watch the whole thing? Okay. Because you coming in here and like defending him, little do you know that I just did all of this to help build his case. Literally all of what I just said was to help build his case for him because I'm trying to be as fair as I can. So I'm glad you're here to defend your Minecrafter. I'm glad you're here to suck his cock. Happy for you, King. Okay. Little do you realize I literally just went on that spiel in defense of him to say maybe genuinely he didn't realize she was uncomfortable. Maybe genuinely he thought she was having a good time. But you just see person online covering thing, woman, they must hate him and think he's a rapist. And it's like, maybe just listen, maybe. Yeah, but then you said none of that matters. Yeah, because it's true. If he groped her, it doesn't matter how much fun she looked like she was having. You don't do that. That's weird to do.
Not pre-watched Sag.
Like, I go pretty extreme on my efforts to make sure other people are comfortable around me. I feel like I've spent enough time around other people to know when certain people don't like hugs. For example, there are a lot of people who feel uncomfortable by physical touch and they don't like being hugged by people they don't really know. And I'm very careful to make sure to ask stuff like that and be like, hey, do you like hugs? Do you not like hugs? Just catching a vibe for this. I would never think to reach over and grab someone's boob, especially a woman or like a femme presenting person, because grabbing a dude's chest is a little bit different. Are you trying to say sexual assault against men isn't real? No, I'm trying to say that there is a difference between the sexualized body part that is on women, boobs, and the lack of sexualized body part on men, breasts. Both are bad. You shouldn't do it to either, but I don't think it's hard to understand that one of them is more sexualized in society and more taboo in society. Considering that men can show their nipples and women can't, there is a bit of a difference between grabbing a guy's boob and grabbing a woman's boob. All sexual assault is bad. If someone says that they felt sexually assaulted by you groping them, it's valid. It's just one of them is so obviously bad. Like anyone should know you're not supposed to do that. Like, that's just like, I don't think that there's anyone there that, it's kind of like everyone knows you shouldn't say the N-word. You just shouldn't do it. Whereas like the male equivalent would be like saying the R word. It's like some people just don't realize, oh yeah, actually that is kind of harmful. I shouldn't do that. There's no one that thinks that you can just grab a woman's boobs. And if you do think that, I'm very concerned. I don't know how you could think that, genuinely. Both are bad. Don't touch people without their consent. One of them is very obviously bad. Okay. Let's keep going.
Know how old she was, despite her claiming that I did, just because it was in her bio. And it was clear to anyone there that she was not uncomfortable with me sitting next to her. Then eventually 2 of the people that came to the hotel room left. So then it was just down to me, Dream, my online friend, Katie, Katie's best friend, and a 6th mutual friend. Next she says, this is a quote, resorted to playing games on her phone to avoid the awkward situation. Now, I just don't see how this is the case. She's implying that she is using her phone to essentially escape, such an awkward scenario that she's in. But that's just not how it happened. And this is why. She brought up the phone game as kind of a point. The game was honestly the central point of the interaction at this part of the night. It was a very social thing. She was passing the phone around. We were all playing the game and bantering about it, just having fun with the game. So I don't see how like she resorted to it and was like using it in that context. She wasn't being awkward at all. There was no sense of uncomfortability from her. She was laughing and playing with everyone. And yeah, I'm not really sure why she phrased it like this. We actually continued to send each other high score updates even weeks after the event. To add further context to this moment, we were all
this, in my opinion, is not proof of like anything, only because it can take people a long time to realize that they were assaulted. And it's something that can be very traumatic for people, and your brain has coping mechanisms and will force you to pretend like that didn't happen. Actually, a male friend of mine recently talked about how they had gotten so drunk at like a gathering, some function or something, and I guess one of the women there invited him to have sex or whatever. And afterward, he was like, I was way too drunk to consent. And in the moment, he didn't care. And then like a week or 2 weeks later, he was like, I feel like I was violated. I was so drunk at that party. Like, I was not even there. I didn't remember any of it. Like, I feel so violated. And sometimes it can just take you some time to like start thinking about something because your body has trauma responses. I had to convince my male friend that he was raped after a year after the fake because he was in denial. Yeah, because your brain doesn't want to. It's like you don't want to be you don't want to be a victim, right? Your brain doesn't want you to have to accept that you had something bad happen to you. So sometimes it can be days, sometimes it can be minutes, sometimes it can be days, sometimes it can be weeks, sometimes it can be years. And that is why if someone is intoxicated, you just don't do that type of stuff. That is why when someone is intoxicated, you guys all go out to get drinks. You and your homies get drinks. And your homie who is way too drunk is like trying to go home with someone. It is a responsible thing for you to tell your buddy, no, we have to go home. You're way too drunk to make this decision right now. I know you really want to. I know you feel like you're not too drunk. You're too drunk to make this decision. We're going to go home. And if you still want to in the morning, you can hit them up in the morning. And that's what you're supposed to do. Because drunk people can't consent. And because drunk people can't consent and they aren't processing what is happening to them as they would when they're sober, You have to take away their ability to do these things so that they don't do anything that they regret. So there are people that will come in, obviously a lot of people coming in here, they don't know how fair I am when about allegations. I am one of the most fair, I feel like I'm one of the most fair content creators when it comes to covering any allegations against anyone. But that's because I want to hold people accountable for the things they did, not the things that they didn't do. Same as taking someone's keys before a party. Exactly like that. When I was 19, a 22-year-old woman got me drunk at a party for the first time, basically dragged me to her place. I couldn't even walk. I lost my virginity. Everyone made fun of me because she told the whole women's rugby team. Yeah, and like in that moment, do you want to process that you felt like violated? Of course not. Because it's like, it's just going to make you feel worse about your situation. And it's very normal that people come up with coping strategies and they're like, no, it was fun. Ha 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 ha. Because you don't want to be that person. That's not who you feel like you are. You aren't someone that gets violated. I had a girl I was dating come over sloshed unannounced, trying to get some. I tucked her in and said, good night. I'll see you in the morning. Yeah. I stood on her to stand. If both parties are drunk, the male will get charged. Yeah, I mean, like, to be clear, our legal system is very sexist. I will be the first person to tell you that our legal system is incredibly sexist. The reason why our legal system overcorrects in one direction sometimes is like in the instance of two people getting drunk is because generally speaking, in instances of sober assault, the perpetrators are male like 95% of the time. But that doesn't make it okay to do that, to be very clear. I'm saying this is how I'm explaining the situation and explaining the context, not excusing it. All right. Yeah, because men are seen as incapable of not enjoying sex. Yeah. There's some benevolent sexism happening there where it's like women can't, she's just a widow woman. How is she supposed to? And then men get told, oh, you didn't want to have sex with her? Yeah, right. Or like stories come out about a female teacher assaulting male students. And then the replies are all, what a lucky kid if that was me. So there's sexism there. For sure. Moving on. This doesn't prove anything for me personally, just because the number one most important thing is if you did something with someone while they were really drunk, you've immediately already made a mistake. The problem, you're not allowed to say, look, she consented in that moment. She didn't say no, and we were still talking for weeks. The crime you committed was not doing something despite being told no. The crime you committed was allowing someone that drunk to make decisions because they are not in a state of mind to make decisions. They can't make rational decisions. So let's keep going.
Actually sitting on the couch that was in the hotel room playing this game on her phone. And during this, me and Katie were at the far end of the couch and we were cuddling together. We had been cuddling for, I'd say, around an hour at this point, playing the game, talking, and just having fun. And for clarity, I had my hand around her waist above her clothes. So with her statement where she's saying that she's resorting to playing games on her phone, I just don't really understand it. And I think that the picture that she's painting is really dark, when in reality, she seemed very happy with the situation, was having a good time. I also want to address a fact that she claimed that would confirm that I know her age. She said that she had answered a question about her age during a drinking game, and we were talking about sex, and that she admitted to everyone in the room that she was 18 and a virgin at the time. I just don't remember this happening. I'm not saying this to just pretend like it didn't happen. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I did not hear it happen. We're not just all sitting down and not moving. It's a, it's a chaotic environment. I could have been getting a drink. I could have been talking to someone else. I just did not know that that was said. Another quote from her stream I want to address. She says, "There was more alcohol in the room and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking and insisted on drinking games. They had already been drinking before they arrived. They were drunk." And the way this is phrased, it makes us out to look like we're kind of preying on them and like forcing them to drink when they didn't want to, when that's not the case. And as I mentioned earlier, they were even the ones asking to play the drinking games via the texts before they had even arrived.
I want
So
to hear that
then
again.
this is when we're not just all sitting down and not moving. It's a, it's a chaotic environment. I could have been getting a drink. I could have been talking to someone else. I just did not know that that was said. Another quote from her stream I want to address. She says, "There was more alcohol in the room and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking and insisted on drinking games. They had already been drinking before they arrived. They were drunk." And the way this is phrased, it makes us out to look like we're kind of preying on them and like forcing them to drink when they didn't want to, when that's not the case. And as I mentioned earlier, they were even the ones asking to play the drinking games via the texts before they had even arrived. So then this is when her most important claim happens. I'm just going to read the quote. She says, "Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, 'Are you ticklish?' I coughed out a no, and still staring at my phone, I was overly aware of the fact that we were in front of other people. The fact that everyone else was sitting around us, watching us, including my best friend, and that his hand was inching further to places I hadn't asked it to be. Again, as I mentioned before, we had previously been cuddling on this couch for around an hour, but I did place my hand on her waist under her shirt. The way it's phrased makes it sound like it just happened out of nowhere, when in reality we'd been cuddling for over an hour at this point, and it was not out of nowhere. It was also around half an hour until I started moving my hand further up, and the way it's phrased just makes it seem like it happened pretty instantly and pretty quickly. There was nothing quick about it, it was very slow, and I was very cautious about it and making sure that she was comfortable throughout the process. Me and Katie were
How?
very touchy, very cuddly.
How were you making sure that she was comfortable? Because it feels like what you're saying is, I got the vibe that she was very comfortable and I went from there. Doesn't seem like you made sure that she was. Because if you made sure that she was, you would have asked her. And this is why you should not be in these type of situations with fans. And it's because you have so much power in that situation. You have no way of knowing that if you put your hands on someone, they will freeze up and just do nothing because they don't want to upset you. Because there are circumstances that make someone more likely to not make a scene because they like you. She's not a fan, she's a creator. Sure, but she is a fan of his, and she's talked about being a fan of his. You can be a creator and be a fan at the same time. You should also be going for enthusiastic and verbal consent, for sure, on someone younger looking. Yeah. Especially in a group setting with a lot of other famous people, it would take a lot for someone confident to speak up in this situation. What else was he supposed to do? Yeah, he could have said some stuff a little different, but it's kind of funny that she tells her story right after what happened with Wilbur, as if she knew everyone would believe her without questioning her, because why would they? I respect her statement, but it seems a bit off, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna go after her, nor should anyone else. He just doesn't seem right. Heart goes out to her. Poor girl was crying like. What do you mean, what else was he supposed to do? Here's, I guess, like the problem for me. besides the moral qualms, to draw an analogy really quickly, you know, when you're talking to like hardcore Republicans that are pro death penalty, you can sit there and tell them a million times like the death penalty is morally wrong, the state should not have the power to execute, because there are and have been and will be people who are wrongly killed for crimes they didn't commit. We need to stop, because you can't give someone their life back. At least if you arrest someone wrongfully for 5-10 years, you can eventually release them and give them money and try and let them live the rest of their life. There's no way to correct the issue of having executed someone and then found out that they weren't guilty. But when you're talking to hardcore Republicans, they don't give a fuck. And you have to tell them, do you know it's more expensive for the state to put someone on death row than it is to just imprison them for life? And then they're like, oh, why didn't you just say so? Okay, I'm on board. To draw an analogy, even if you think there was nothing wrong with what he did, even if you think, oh, he really didn't even do anything that was that bad, you need to have some fucking self-preservation as a content creator. Okay, you don't give a fuck about the morals, whatever. You don't care about assaulting women, whatever. You have no self-preservation either? None? You don't have enough self-preservation to not end up in situations where you are doing this shit? Like, it is your responsibility as a content creator to, at the very least, protect yourself and protect your career by getting enthusiastic consent. And if you are not doing that, you are a fucking moron. Like, you should be getting, at the very least, receipts. Texting, hey, I just want to make sure everything was cool yesterday and you had fun. Or at the in the moment, sending a text in the moment, hey, you're really hot and sexy right now. Ha 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 ha. Would you be into it or not? Ha 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 ha. So that when they say yes or no, in which case when they say no, you can stop. But when they say yes, and they come out and speak up against you, you can be like, no, look, this is what I got as a text message. I'm sorry if she felt differently about it later, but I explicitly asked for consent because I wanted to make sure I wasn't making her uncomfortable. Like, whatever. I get it. I tried streaming a couple hours. I can't stream for more than 2 before ADHD kicks in. Newfound appreciation. Yeah. So whatever, like, here's the thing, right? You can make whatever statements you want to make. At the end of the day, he's an idiot for being a large content creator and not taking the appropriate precautions to, at the very least, protect himself. There are certain jobs and positions that require consent forms for everyone's safety. I highly recommend everyone take one like civil law class. And that's like, it shouldn't even be for the purpose of like, oh, well, now I have proof that I didn't assault her. It should be like, okay, cool. I have explicit permission to touch this person. I don't have to be worried about it.
And very slowly got more intimate. I've always been overly cautious with consent, and this is not just because I'm a creator. I've been like this since before I was a creator, and I think that's just the way I am and just the way it should be. Nothing came out of nowhere. No, everything progressed very slowly throughout the night. And also, before I continue, I want to make it clear that the furthest anything ever got was under the shirt touching and cuddling. Now, obviously, people don't typically ask if everything is okay, even such as touching someone's waist under their shirt before they do it. But in this case, I was extremely slow, and she was engaging with me the entire time, laughing, cuddling with me, and even playfully fighting me for the game that we were playing. Again, the quote that she said, he disguised it with a simple, "Are you ticklish?" I coughed out a no. She's implying that it's with malicious intent, and that she coughed out a no would also imply that I should be able to tell.
Let's hear it again.
And she was engaging with me the entire time, laughing, cuddling with me, and even playfully fighting me for the game that we were playing. Again, the quote that she said, he disguised it with a simple, "Are you ticklish?" I coughed out a no. She's implying that it's with malicious intent, and that she coughed out a no would also imply that I should be able to tell that she was uncomfortable with it. She says later, he made a game out of my embarrassment where he would touch me in certain areas to make me lose the game I was playing. Now, I actually remember this quite vividly. I remember she was playing the game, and there were parts where it would be very easy to lose if you were distracted. And she's right, I did do that. There were points where she was playing the game, and she was at a point where it was easy for her to mess up, and I would, for example, tickle her or like squeeze her, and when I did this, she would laugh, she would turn around and smile at me, or she would play fight with me because I had just made her lose the game. She also says how, quote, I didn't speak or move. I remember being afraid to even breathe. I stayed there for a while, hoping my stillness could make me disappear. Now, to reiterate, anytime that I did this, it was met with her either smiling, laughing, play fighting with me, and there was no reason for me to believe that she was uncomfortable with it. She was not moving. She was not speaking. Of course, I don't believe that silence is consent. I just want to make sure that it is abundantly clear. She was visibly and physically responding well to everything that we were doing. I also want to comment on how she said that she had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop. She did get up multiple times throughout the night. For example, to go to the bathroom, to get a drink. Also, when her friends left, she got up to say goodbye to them, and she would come back to the same scenario. I also just want to point out that her best friend was here during this whole process, then afterwards did leave. And I think it is important to note that she made the choice to stay behind for many hours more. And as I mentioned before, she did get up, say goodbye to them, and came back. We were even talking about staying up to wait until 11 a.m., which was the checkout time of the hotel. Since it was the final day, we were like, oh, I don't know if we want to go to sleep for a few hours, might as well just stay up. But that's not what ended up happening. And it's at this time that Katie says that, this is a quote, I went to leave and the older guy then decided to leave too. This is phrased in a way that makes me look kind of creepy, to be honest. She's basically saying she left, so I decided to leave too, which is not the case. What actually happened is Dream had decided he was too tired and was going to bed. So the night was over and we all left. She then goes on to tell a story about the elevator and how I joked about it being broken to try get her to go in with me. So Katie actually had her own hotel room on the same floor as Dream. So she actually didn't have to take the elevator. She walked me to the elevator when she didn't have to and said goodnight to me, which was nice of her. I did joke with her about coming in the elevator by pretending that it was broken. I went into the elevator, the doors closed, and I would press the doors open button to make it open again. I did this a few times, and she didn't go along with it, which I respectfully took, obviously, and ended up just going down to my room. So yeah, she didn't have to take the elevator, yet she chose to walk with me to the elevator to say goodnight to me, which I think is interesting given how she's saying how she was so upset with it. But also, I think these comments are her looking back on the night and not her actual feelings at the time. And that's essentially the end of the story. This is actually the last time I've seen her in person, was just as those elevator doors closed. We messaged for a bit after, through Instagram DMs and Snapchat. And the way that we talked to each other was always pretty banterous. For example, after the first night that we hung out, but before the second, she'd actually texted me and said, you better not be in Dream's room tonight or I'm going to shoot your leg. Obviously, she's not going to shoot my leg. It's just, we're just messing with each other. And I'd actually responded to her and said, well, guess what? I'm actually here right now. And yeah, after this, we texted for a bit, sometimes daily. Sometimes we would take a few days break, even a few weeks at some point. And at some point after VidCon, we were actually both in London at the same time. And she And she let me know this through her DMs. Now, I will say she didn't come out outright and say, I'm in London, but she did say that she had gone to a place that was known to be a London thing. And I commented on that and said, and asked what she was doing in London. And just to clarify, we did not meet up whilst in London, nor make plans to do so. She was always extremely friendly to me.
I'm going to be honest, the last like 3 minutes of context, I don't think have done what he has wanted it to do. Like, I haven't been. All of these are like peripheral details that are not, in my opinion, relevant. Again, because people have different trauma responses.
Friendly to her, and honestly, I was very shocked to hear her say the things that she did say during her stream. When I first opened up her stream, it was after she'd already streamed it, but not long after, so people hadn't yet made the connection that it was relating to me. And when watching it, I was like, I was actually interested. I was thinking, okay, what's this going to be about? And then when she started saying more and more details, I realized, wait, this is about me. I was very confused, very shocked, and didn't quite know what to think, given I had no impression of any wrongdoing throughout this whole relationship that I had with her. None at all. Like, it was, if anything, it was the opposite. I thought we had a pretty good relationship, despite the fact that we actually hadn't talked in a while. I thought if I had seen her in real life again, everything would be fine and we would be friends. It was actually around this point, after VidCon had finished and we were messaging, that I found out her age. And since then, I never pursued anything going forward, and I essentially stopped messaging her. Her last message to me was August 1st, 2023, and I haven't replied to her since then. After I watched her stream, I was pretty confused. I didn't understand how her account of the story had been so different from what actually happened. A lot of the facts that she said just didn't happen at all, or were phrased in ways that just make me look as bad as possible. Saying things like, I insisted on her playing drinking games, or that she was frozen in place, or that she was scared. She was having fun. She was enjoying herself. She was showing this with her body language, with the way that she smiled, the way that she laughed, and just her overall general demeanor. Now, one thing that I think is very important to differentiate here is that I do believe that she regrets being affectionate with me, and that really does make me feel terrible. I never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable or regret.
Sorry, I apologize for pausing it, but following since 9 seconds ago. You are in the wrong. George did nothing wrong. I haven't spoken since you've been following. How do you even know what my stance is? Huh? Sounds like you're just mad at like a ghost that doesn't exist. It's not relevant to explain how he was feeling about her reactions. Are you joking? No, he's explaining his own feelings and her visible reactions. If you come back to a couch, you feel uncomfortable, and and then you can't later say, I didn't want to be on that couch. You can if you're incredibly drunk. If you were incredibly drunk at that time, you are allowed to say, I could not consent. I was drunk. And before you say it, this applies to men too. If you are too drunk as a man, you are too drunk to consent. Oh, God, my legs. Oh. So her drunkenness is okay, but his isn't? She wasn't touching him. She wasn't putting her hands under his shirt. She wasn't groping him. I don't. If he came out and said that she was doing this to him, that would be a different story, but that's not what he said. You're just mad because you want to be mad. Because I've said earlier in the stream, even if we give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he genuinely thought what he was doing was consensual, that doesn't change the fact that you should not be doing those things with people that are drunk that you just met yesterday. It's like, I think there are people that get mad because they really want to. I don't even think it's necessarily Minecraft stands, by the way. I think there are Minecraft stands for sure. But I think a lot of the people that come in that are mad are like mad because they think, I'm calling him like a rapist, or they assume anyone who talks about the situation is immediately calling this person a terrible human being. Try not being mad. Also, like, brother, don't try and save face. I'm not mad. I came into the stream late. I'm actually replying to a chat member, not you, the streamer. IDK your stance fully. You came in here swinging, saying, it's not relevant to explain how he was feeling about her reactions. Are you joking? How are you this one-sided? Like, sir. That's why I didn't read the message that when you tagged someone else. But go ahead. You can walk it back if you want to walk it back.
Their interactions with me or anything along those lines, regardless of if it's sexual or not. And I am truly really sorry if I contributed towards that. But what's important to differentiate is that she was uncomfortable with this after the fact and not during. She says, quote, "At the time of it all, I convinced myself I was lucky. I was lucky that it had happened to me. I was excited to be around such big creators, to be at that convention in general." Now, actually, I have had a similar scenario to this where I was in I had a sexual experience with someone where in the moment I was perfectly happy with it happening, but then afterwards I regretted it. And I'm not saying this to get any form of sympathy. I'm not looking for that. That is not the case at all. I'm simply saying this because
Wait, I want to hear what he's talking about again.
I was lucky that it had happened to me. Different interactions with me or anything along those lines, regardless of if it's sexual or not. And I am truly really sorry if I contributed towards that. But what's important to differentiate is that she was uncomfortable with this after the fact and not during. She says, quote, "At the time of it all, I convinced myself I was lucky. I was lucky that it had happened to me. I was excited to be around such big creators, to be at that convention in general." Now, actually, I have had a similar scenario to this where I was in I had a sexual experience with someone where in the moment I was perfectly happy with it happening, but then afterwards I regretted it. And I'm not saying this to get any form of sympathy. I'm not looking for that. That is not the case at all. I'm simply saying this because I can see the similarities in the situation. Now, I'm not mad at the person that I was in this sexual experience with at all. I have no negative thoughts on them. I simply did not like how it ended up. And if I could go back and not do it, I wouldn't have. I wanted to do it in the moment, but then changed my mind later, which is completely valid. You're completely allowed to feel that way. But what isn't okay, and I think is just completely unfair, is to act as if I am the bad person in the scenario because you changed your mind later. I also want to separate this from abuse.
That's not changing your mind later. You weren't in a state of mind to make decisions in the first place. Changing your mind later is being sober and having sex with someone, then realizing you didn't want to have sex with that person. That's not changing your mind.
And certain scenarios that other people have dealt with recently or just in general, I think it is completely fine to come to terms with your abuse over time and realize that it was bad for you and a terrible situation to be in, and to then look badly back on that person. That is completely valid, but this is different. Again, this all happened within a 4 hour period, 3, 4 hour period, and I was not given any sign of discomfort, unhappiness, or anything along those lines. And again, it was the opposite of that. She was happy, she was laughing, she was smiling, and as far as I know, everyone else in the room would have thought the same at the time. So now what I'm thinking is, why would she come out and say it like this? Why is she saying this? Now, I don't think she's purposefully being malicious or trying to hurt me or ruin my career or anything like that. But what I do think,
I think I've made my opinions, but I want to let him finish talking. I think I understand, and I think I know my positions and my opinions. Dude, I need to open up a fucking firm. I need to start a business, and the business is just called helping streamers make good comeback videos or response videos, because so much of this was unnecessary, like muddies the water, makes it look like he's trying to cover stuff up more. And then certain language is just not good that he's using. Like, I need to open a fucking PR team.
Where do I invest in this startup?
Like, immediately. I just don't even know how you can make so many terrible mistakes in a video.
is that she is surrounded by a friend group that completely despises me and my friend group. And this is quite a specific
And to be
scenario
clear,
that
like,
probably doesn't.
I'm very understanding of people who do live formats and they're not great. Because it's just like, I get it. Live format's hard, but pre-recorded content, it should not be. There was no reason. There's like 15 minutes of this that just makes it look like he's trying to discredit her in a way that is malicious. Christ, any streamers out there, fucking message me before you post this shit. If only for my fucking sanity. Please.
Really happen that much, especially publicly. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of hard to talk about it. But I think after VidCon, she obviously had told some of her friends about what happened. Whether or not that was in a negative connotation, I do not know. I wasn't part of these conversations, of course. But she clearly told them about this scenario. Now, when these people that are around you all completely despise me and my friends, they're obviously going to look on this poorly. To add context to this, she actually mentions in her stream, here, I will just quote it. She says, "I remember a friend seeing me in the lobby on the way, and they were worried by the way I was acting and asked if I was okay. I was really drunk, and it was an eerie feeling like they could sense something was wrong." Now, this person is in Katie's friend group, and they were concerned that a group of 5 people
Thank you,
were
patient.
going up to Dream's room to join 3 additional people, which is an interesting concern to have. I actually have heard from another source that overheard this conversation and thought it was quite strange that she was worried about this. Now, I think it seems very likely that after 8 months of you being around friends that hate me and my friends and constantly talking badly about us publicly as well and privately, I don't know what they say privately, but can't be
Nope.
any better than what they say publicly.
George, no.
Obviously, that is going to affect the way that you view
Wrong.
the experience.
Stop.
And it's going to make you look at it.
Stop speaking now. Stop speaking now. This is not helping you. This is not helping you at all. I don't know how to tell you that this is. To explain. Going on a live stream or a video or whatever, making a video to talk about allegations made against you nowhere in that, unless you are providing explicit proof, like text messages or group chat messages or something, there is no reason at all to be saying, well, her friends don't like me, so that's probably it. Because it just comes off as you shouldn't listen to what she has to say because emotional woman is just responding to what her friends are telling her. That's how it comes off. Unless you have proof and text messages showing her friends saying terrible things about you and painting you out to be a way worse person, or like it's a group chat and they're posting pictures of you and being like, God, he's so fucking disgusting or something. Unless you're showing this and saying, listen, because if you show that, you're allowed to say, this is not to discredit her statement at all. I would just like to provide the context that all of her friends dislike me. Here's how they talk about me, even though I've never done anything to any of them. And this does not discredit her statement. And I 100% believe her when she says that she could not consent. And I apologize to her genuinely, blah, 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 blah. This is just me trying to explain that here's this. The way that he's doing it is like terrible. This just is so bad. It's just, please, streamers, please.
Bit differently. You're going to second guess it. You're going to be thinking about it. And clearly, it changed the way that she thought about it. And I just think it's completely unfair to judge me and my actions based on how you feel about it now, 8 months later, versus how you felt at the time. Because at the time, you were not uncomfortable with it. And I know I'm repeating myself a million times, but I have to. You were smiling, happy, laughing, playing along with it, everything. And that's all I really have to say on the matter.
This is not the own that you think it is. Why was she wearing a 21 plus wristband? That's not. I know you think you're being really smart and clever. You're not. Blaming the younger person, it's not it, man. I'm just asking a question. I think we both know the answer to that because she got one from someone else. Don't. I think it's hard to believe her because there is text messages that proves that she lied about some of the things. What is it? What are the text messages that she proves that she lied about some things? Because the only claim he made and he showed text messages about was him saying she claimed that she went just because her friend was going and her friend didn't want to go by herself. But if you look at these text messages, she asked to come. And then there's also, what was the other thing that he claimed? He claimed that she said that they were pushing us to play drinking games and get really drunk. And then he showed a screenshot of her showing the app, the drinking game app, but that also doesn't prove her out to be a liar. She could have been the one to download the app. She also could have been the one to say, you know, guys, I think we should stop playing. And them to say, no, we should keep playing. That doesn't disprove her point. It's not solid evidence. It's like very mediocre at best. Why didn't you stop or something? I'm not siding with George because people operate very differently when they are around creators that they are fans of. People act very differently also when they're very drunk. Also, freezing is a trauma response. Freezing is a valid response that people experience. She could have been afraid to say no. She could have been afraid that she was like ruining her business chances or whatever with these people. by saying no. But she wasn't freezing. I didn't claim that she was. I said, as a separate note, that is something that people do. I didn't say that she did it. I said that that is something that people do. Okay. Let's finish there's like 30 more seconds.
Still keep supporting victims.
Okay. That was actually it. Do we even know it was her wristband? She was with 5 other people. He never said it was her in the picture. The picture was a little bit questionable, but I'm going to just... I'm going to assume that the picture is real. I'm just going to assume that the picture is real. For my sanity. Wristband was from the next day, actually. Why was that so loud? Christ. I just woke up. I'm watching the VOD. I just want to say Katie did not have a 21 and up wristband. The only people who had the wristband was me and our other friend. Those were not the Hyatt passes to get in. We also came from a house party, not a VidCon event. Hmm. The wristband picture was from the next night. Okay, let's go. Let's see. So apparently Dream also posted his opinions like 15 minutes ago. So shall we read them? And then after this, I will say my opinions, my piece or whatever. How many good Minecrafters are left? Tubbo. Karl Jacob seems cool. Followed because chatters are pissing me off. George had valid reasons to not identify her age with a 21 plus wristband. That doesn't undermine. Someone who's intoxicated cannot consent and her feelings did not change. Her feelings now are her true feelings. George victim blamer. Yeah. Okay, let's read this, shall we? Foolish. I've heard foolish is cool. Tina Kitten. Tina Kitten is one of the sweetest people on the planet. Oh my God. She is adorable. She's so adorable. In George's story, they suddenly had been cuddling for over an hour. No point does he say that he got consent. He just says that he read body language, and that's not the same. Quackity is based. What are your opinions on the pun situation? I haven't read his side yet. It seemed like he genuinely owned up to the things that he did, which I appreciated, and that he does apologize to Andy. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to finish. I would like to read the Dream opinions. Okay, Dream says, my honest and open point of view, based on hearing both recounts of the story, being there myself, and talking to everyone that was there afterwards, George's recounting events is much closer to what actually took place. Now, of course, there's one major problem with this document already. You have a natural bias to protect your friends. It's just there. It is. The other problem as well is that I don't think that Dream is a good source of judgment for what looks like consent. Not because of any particular reason, but just I don't think he knows. Because if you know what enthusiastic consent is, he would not have the opinions that he has. I just don't believe that he's an unreliable. I just don't believe he's a reliable narrator here. It's just the case that you are going to be sympathetic to your friends' positions. That's it. Like, it just. In the same way that when the girlies are like, I hate my ex, he's terrible. All your friends are like, yeah, fuck that guy. That guy's a piece of shit. It's like, okay, well, you and none of your friends are reliable narrators for that story. Because you're all just maybe a little too biased. It's the same thing. It's your buddy. You're gonna be a little too biased, but we'll keep reading. I think people expressing that someone did not consent to touching or cuddling because they did not verbally speak it is extremely dishonest. No. You can clearly consent without verbally specifying something, saying something. What the fuck is this sentence? Christ. Do people not read their posts before they post them? I'm sorry. That's not important. Just as you can nod your head to say yes, silence is not consent, but I was there, and although I don't know that any sexual touching had taken place, I can say for a matter of fact that their interactions were extremely positive throughout the night. She had many opportunities of separations, even getting up and down off the couch and laying back down with him after the alleged sexual assault took place. She was drunk. And her best friend after leaving after what took place and her choosing to stay for hours, she was drunk. No one there had anything but positive experiences to share until many months later, and I was shocked to hear anything at all. Everyone was already drinking, and in no way was them drinking along with everyone an inappropriate action. Everyone was drinking, and everyone was in and out. What does that mean? In and out. Yes, she was not 21. No, it's not a normal thing at all to stop creators at a convention or anyone for that matter from drinking because of that. What? She was not 21. It's not normal to stop creators from drinking because of that. What are you talking about? It's totally normal. No, I disagree. I completely disagree. I think it is a totally normal thing to tell someone, are you of age? You look really young. And stopping people from drinking. I mean, literally bartenders do it to people. Literally bartenders say, I'm cutting you off. The people who make money off of getting you drunk cut you off when you've gotten too drunk. It is normal to tell people when they should stop drinking. That's not, I don't know why it's being presented as like, anyways. Many of the people I've seen criticize this fact already have very publicly drunk many times with the under 21 content creator and are not being impartial. That's not relevant. I will agree with George in saying that there is a large group of content creators that have very large hatred for me and the Dream Team. Not exactly why. I have some ideas, but it's been going on for over a year now. I do think that, like, people do... how do I say this? I think there's a lot of people that don't know any of the details surrounding the allegations that came out against Dream and do hate him despite it. And those people are probably unfair or being unfair because they're just going based off of like hearsay or somebody else disliking them. And I refuse to comment, or I have not commented on Dream because I have never bothered looking into whatever the fuck the allegations were against him. But not related. Multiple of these content creators have spread total lies about me, take any opportunity they can to spread negative rumors. Katie is not one of them, to be clear, but she is friends with many of them, and this is even something we discussed in person. I obviously can't say for certain that this has anything to do with what she said, but I can assume it had an impact on the lens that she viewed George through. Okay. One of these content creators that used to be on the Dream SMP spread that they asked me about grooming allegations when they happened, and that I proceeded to ban them from the Dream SMP Discord server to hide it. This is completely false. They were never banned from the Discord. They left randomly themselves. I answered every question they had over text and volunteered to answer any more. This lie is incredibly harmful, still has effects to this day. It's one of the many lies or exaggerations they've spread. Both Katie and her other friends there spoke about how this group in the UK, who Katie is best friends with, despise me, and they're not sure why. I talked positively about change and hoping one day they would come around. Months after the incident, one of this group, can please read your fucking post before you post it. Do not publish the first draft. One of this group tweeted accusing me of bringing 18-year-olds at VidCon to my hotel room to drink. I was shocked at this, and immediately looked into what he was talking about. This was 2 months after VidCon. He was talking about this. I didn't know Katie beforehand, and she was already drunk and essentially, I didn't know Katie beforehand, and she was already drunk and drinking and essentially plus oneing with an overage friend of mine. I even suggested they don't come. Okay, so at least one person knew that she was drunk. I don't know why he admitted to this. This is not good. The second you say that you knew that she was drunk, you've fucked up. After this is when I had the conversation with Ghosty, Katie's best friend, who was there, about what he was saying and how it was ridiculous, where she agreed. I was confused as to why he was saying what he was saying. It was about me, and no one that was there had any idea what he was talking about. Katie was avoidant of clarifying anything to them or defending me, and was careful with how she worded things in texts to me about it. It was speculated by everyone that that was there that night that it was because she was good friends with the UK group and she didn't want to lose them as friends if she defended me or my character. Both Katie and Ghosty expressed that their interactions with me were not representative of how the UK group talks about me. We all talked positively afterwards about those nights and even talked about meeting up again. I had no impression of anyone having any negative opinions about anything at all that happened at VidCon, even directly talking to and asking people there specifically about it. I feel terrible for Katie, and I believe she genuinely has extreme feelings about this, regardless of how they formed. I'm sorry that I at all contributed to this negative period of her life. I would hope that she knows that I had absolutely no negative intentions at all. I thought she was a great, fun person to be around. I do not feel bad for any of the people masquerading as heroes, though, that are doing this for personal vendettas in relation to this or other accusations, including my own. There's more. Oh my God, what is he, a leftist? Jesus. Sorry, but what are we reading here? This is Dream's perspective on the GeorgeNotFound situation. Just like you should not trust that creators are always good people, you should not trust that creators' supportive actions are always done with good intentions. Duh. Many creators have expressed to me behind the scenes that even if the allegations are true, they wouldn't care because they're not a big deal. And some of the same people that were later praised for no longer associating with me due to these allegations. Many creators never asked me any questions at all, even sent private messages of support and then chose to ask me questions the same day I had drama with another creator they were better friends with. Many creators pretended to not be associated with me publicly, making jokes of the potential abuse, which were privately being positive to me. Other creators dropped me as soon as I was no longer working on projects they were heavily invested in, but were perfectly fine playing dumb when it benefited them for the next big stream. Many creators knew about this specific situation for a long time, hated me long before it, continued to make slights without me ever having any idea why they were doing it. Why is this about him? Ooh, he's talking about you, Denims. Trust me, I don't know anything about Dream. I don't know what any of the allegations are against Dream. I just know that people don't like him and that they call him a pedophile. And I think it's a little funny. I'm sorry. I do think it's a little funny, even if it is mean-spirited. But at no point have I said that I dislike him. And if anything, my stream has been very Dream friendly. Yesterday, while watching Katie's VOD, I even explicitly said, please, like, there's no reason to be bringing Dream into this shit. Katie's best friend literally said that she backs up everything that Dream said about the situation. Specifically, when Dream said he had no idea that she was 18, he did not invite her. Katie's best friend said, yeah, that's true. There's no reason to bring himself into it and like use a victim story to attack a character you don't like. But I don't have any opinions about him. Yeah, it's funny to call an innocent guy pedophile, right? No, but it's fun to call you a pedophile. Sorry. When chatters come in and they're annoying, I can't help myself. I'm sorry. I apologize. I also said it's funny. It's fucked up, but it's funny. But yeah, at no point did I say that like I'm attacking Dream or that I in fact said you should not attack Dream. You should be only talking about the people that are actually involved in this scenario that are actually being accused of something. Evidently, Dream is not being accused of anything. There's no reason to use this as an opportunity to shit on him. And using someone else's sexual assault experience to make it about someone else that you don't like is an unbelievably pathetic thing to do. And it's just kind of scumbag behavior to do that. I'm not going to use someone else's story to attack someone I don't like, which I feel neutral about Dream. I don't know anything about him. So trust when I say I have been very fair towards him. Let's see, where were we? And what he's talking about is true. There are like the phenomenon that he's talking about where people stop associating with you when it's inconvenient and then reassociate with you when it's convenient is very real. Totally 100% real. When it's not, I mean, I think even Pokey has talked about it on her podcast. If it's not in style to support you in that moment, people just pretend like they just ignore you. But then once it's in style to support you again, everyone is like coming out of the woodworks. So moving on. They publicly attacked me far more than ever saying anything negative towards George. Yeah, and those people, I also hate them, actually. Anyone who's using this as an opportunity to just like shit on, whoa, my voice, just to shit on Dream rather than actually discussing the person who is being described as the perpetrator of the act. Like, you're you're a shitty person. You're a shitty person to make this all about Dream and not say a single word about GeorgeNotFound. I do think there's way too much of this that's about him, even though I had no idea of anything remotely about the situation and being a thing, and that they thought that it was that he was a horrible assaulter. It's obvious to me that this is because they already hated me and not because they care about the potential victim, even if they are close friends. This is all that he needed to keep in there. All the past 3 fucking pages that we just read were not necessary. Just this was the only thing that was important. Creators aren't who you always think they are. Even the ones that seem the most proactive about supporting victims can be using vulnerable people to push their own agendas. That's true. Think about Trainwrecks. Do you think Trainwrecks gives a fuck about sexual assault? Do you think he has a principled position of believing victims? No, he talked about the situation with Adriana as a way to get back at Ms. Kim. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. It just depends on the system or something. Yeah. He even tried to spin it as Hassan hate then. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there are a lot of creators that are bad actors that just use drama or whatever as a way to get at someone that they don't like, to use it as leverage against someone that they don't like. Humblebee, thank you for the prime. Moving on. Support victims because they deserve it, not when it benefits you. I will never stand for abuse, and have shown that on many occasions, even with my closest friends, even my best friends. I feel like this post has been very negative, so I just want to end it with positivity. Most creators aren't like this. There's a lot of good in the world, and there's a lot of kindness and honesty and love. There are many creators that are fair, kind, truthful, and no one should give up hope on creators in general. It's just like everywhere else in life, there's a balance. The bad is just amplified on social media, as everything is under a microscope. I don't think it's all negative. I think having these conversations is important, helpful for everyone, including victims, anyone learning and growing. This is all to say, as there is no more information being gathered, and I would like to end the horrible cycle of drama for myself at the moment. That is hilarious, by the way, to end your post about the situation with, I would like to end the horrible cycle of drama for myself. Doesn't look great, but fine. All good. Okay. Now let's get into it, okay? I feel like I have a pretty good picture of the situation. So let's cover a couple things. There was a lot of George's stream was dedicated to showing that in the moment things were fine, and that he did not at any point think that she was not having a good time. So let's write these things down. Oops. Mario link, that's basically exactly where I am. Okay. I'm going to say, for the purpose of being fair, I say we can just believe him when he says this. I think that what the crime he committed, or the action that I think is irresponsible, has basically nothing to do with this. I think this makes him seem like less of a malicious actor, but I don't think that I am going to believe him and say that he did not know in that moment that she was not having a good time and that she was uncomfortable. and that he believed her to genuinely be having a good time. Okay? Let's just go with that for right now. Let's just try that. Okay? 2. Dream publishes his statement saying, Dream, you fucked yourself with this, man. This post was, we'll get into it. He says, George's recounting of events is much closer to what actually took place. Oh, dram. Okay. So, given that this is a he said, she said situation, a couple things to note. This is a two people in this story believe that everything was fine and good and dandy. And one person believes that they were violated. Of course, however, the problem is the two people who believe it are friends with each other. So this is still, in my opinion, a he said, she said situation. I don't think either of the statements can necessarily be trusted, but I want to convince people who are in the corner of George of my position. And so I will say, I am going to assume that George's retelling of the story is what took place. MS Word has a word counter in the bottom left corner. You don't need a whole separate app for it. I use window capture, so I need something that opens in a browser, and MS does not open in a browser. This is not for the word count. This is just so I can have somewhere to write text in. Okay. Continuing. Dream also states, Word has a web app now? Oh, well, I don't know that. I just tried to find a quick thing to write in that gets my point across. What was I looking for? There's a section where he talks about her being drunk. Where is the quote? Here we go. I didn't know Katie beforehand. Sorry, Denims, I can't understand your point because I'm too focused on the app you're using. Lord. All this concerning things about another guy with a similar sounding username to my account. You're good. I think you're good. What was I talking about? I'm a Google Docs girly myself. Yeah. I don't give a fuck about the word counter. I'm just using it because it's an easy place to write stuff. Okay. Now that we've written down, I think, the primary facts of the case. Oh, one last fact, which is Katie believes that she was violated and assaulted after some weeks went by, but not at the time. So let's talk about these things. Katie has said herself she feels like she was violated and she was touched inappropriately. GeorgeNotFound says that he did not have any idea that that was the case. Okay, for this purpose, let's say that both things are true. That she did, in fact, in the moment, not realize it. And then after, when she was sober and actually thought about it and processed it, realized that she could not consent and that she felt really uncomfortable actually by what had happened. But at no point was this made aware to GeorgeNotFound. Let's assume that these are true. Both things are true. It doesn't change the fact that she was drunk enough that Dream describes her as having been drunk. And if someone is drunk, you should not be touching them, even if they're asking for it, because they're drunk. It's that simple. What if both parties are drunk? Don't drink. If you know that you are someone that likes to touch other people when you get drunk, don't drink so much that you get to that point and start assaulting people. Because when she gets drunk, she doesn't go and start touching people. When he gets drunk, he starts touching people. And if you know that that happens to you, which at 26, you should know what type of drunk you are. What if both parties are drunk? 7 ads. I'll repeat the answer when the ads are over. Let's clean up some of these tabs, shall we? And this is like, wait. This is pretty close to how I feel about the situation. I think the most charitable version of events is that he was completely thick-headed about the whole scenario and didn't realize how uncomfortably she actually was. But this doesn't at all invalidate whatever feelings Katie also has. Correct. Absolutely 100%. What are you saying? To drunk people, they can't have sex because they're drunk and they can't consent? Yeah. Yeah. There is a difference between drinking, having like a beer. You're maybe a little bit buzzed. There's a difference between being buzzed and having sex and being drunk. Those are different things. I think it's normal to go get like one drink with someone. Just be in a slightly, like, just to get you to the point where you are just a little bit less nerves. You are still capable of making rational decisions. You could walk in a straight line. You could do basic math. You're not struggling with your inhibitions. And being drunk. That's why we have different words for them. That's why we have the word buzzed, and that's why we have the word drunk. Think of it like driving. If you drink too much, it's unethical and dangerous to drive. The same thing applies to sex. Yes. You're not allowed to say, well, like, I was drunk too. Yeah, she was drunk, but I was drunk, because that would never hold up in a court of law if you were talking about having hit a pedestrian for being drunk and driving. Like, even if you were in an altered state of mind and that's why you did the thing, it doesn't change the fact that you shouldn't have been in that altered state of mind in the first place, doing something that is dangerous. That's crazy to me. You mean blackout, right? But you have no way of knowing if someone is blacking out when you're talking to them. If someone looks drunk, your assumption should be, okay, they might be blacking out, which is close enough for me to not touch this person. Having family do this to me, alcoholics will stretch the word buzz to cover all excessive drunk behavior. That's why I basically have to argue against even one drop of alcohol impairing judgment. You're responsible for your actions, whether you were under the influence or not. So it's on the person who initiates if they're both drunk. Yeah, given the fact that we have evidence, of videos that have come out from his friends that have said he is a touchy drunk and he likes to touch people when he's drunk. And there are videos of him doing this and people being like, stop, you're too drunk. Stop groping me. He clearly knows what type of person he is when he's drunk. He should also know not to get that drunk. Or at the very least, ask someone else that's like maybe a designated driver or something. Hey, please keep me in line. If you see me get too drunk, just please go sit me down in a corner so I can sober up a little. At 26, you know, unless you've never been outside before. Well, there are absolutely levels you can be drunk and consent. Projection much? Maybe if you're dating, but never when you were first crossing the intimacy barrier. Oh, yeah, to be clear, that's true. Wait, Marianne, that is true. If you are in a long-term relationship with someone and you've been dating for a long time and you both consent prior to getting drunk and saying, like, you both have an agreement and you're like, yeah, even if we get drunk, I don't mind. I'm never going to mind. It's totally good. And if anything happens, I will let you know. Yeah, of course. In that instance, 100%. In a relationship, you could be drunk and consent and it's fine. With a new person you've never spoken to, like you've spoken to for like a day, maybe 2 days, probably not. I don't think so. Now you're making me out to be the creep. Thanks. I don't know what to tell you. You're the one posting the messages. That's you. I didn't write your messages for you. I know I'm a really touchy drunk, even more so if I black out, so I just don't drink that much in front of people, especially around strangers. Yeah, which is the responsible adult thing to do when you know what type of person you are when you're drunk. I'm just annoying and start talking a lot. So I get drunk because it's fun. like, wow, normally I hate talking in social situations. I always piss myself. Why would you say that out loud? Okay. Are there any other points that I wanted to make? Okay. I figured out what I wanted to say. So given all of the information that we have, that even if we pretend like Katie never posted a VOD and we never watched her video, even if we pretend like all we watch and we just believe everything that George said, the problem is with George's own story that has been corroborated by Dream, he admits to not getting explicit consent, and it's confirmed that she was drunk. Those two facts alone, you can ignore her age, you can ignore the power dynamic, you could ignore the scenario and the situation. The reality is, if they knew that she was drunk, you should not be touching people that are drunk. You just shouldn't be doing it. All of the other stuff makes it worse. The fact that he was in a position of power, the fact that he was older than her by 8 years, the fact that they had only known each other for like 2 days. Yeah, of course, all of those other details make it worse. But here's the thing. Even if we take him at face value, which, George, I'm telling you right now, I'm taking you at face value. You had no idea. You had no idea that she might have been uncomfortable. You were also drunk. You did not know what her age was. Even if all of these things are true, I'm going to believe your side of the story. You shouldn't have been touching someone that was drunk. And you should stop drinking so much that you start touching other people when you're that drunk. If you know that that's something that you do, you should stop doing it, or at the very least, not do it in front of like people that you don't trust to keep you in check, like good friends of yours that will keep you in check, that where there's no power dynamic. Like, if you know that Dream doesn't care and he'll keep you in check when you drink too much and start getting touchy-feely, then yeah, of course, that's totally fine. Go for it. Get that drunk with your friends. But not with strangers. If you know that you do that, don't get drunk around strangers. When you see that someone is drunk and they're young and drunk, you should give them as much space as they need and tell them, hey, let me know when you want to go home. You seem really drunk. And so, like, I guess this is the problem that I have with his video, which is it feels like he spent a lot of time trying to prove that, like, he's not a creep. And there was so much of it. Also, hi, Vio. There was so much of it that didn't need to be there, that I think actually made his case worse. But the reality is he didn't apologize for coming on to someone that was drunk. And he didn't take accountability for that and say, no, I admit that. And like, yeah, she was drunk and I shouldn't have done that. Because if he did that, I would have been like, wow, this is a really good apology and this is a really good response statement. I have a question. Why didn't Katie's friends say anything about her drinking? leaving her drunk and alone with people she didn't know personally, genuine. This is sort of like the same reason why we have statutory rape laws. Give me a second, let me cook. The idea is that the person that is younger, especially if they are significantly younger, is at such a disadvantage socially because they have so few experiences, generally life experiences, that they cannot make good decisions because they don't have the experiences to know to make the right decision. And so in instances where teachers have relationships with their students, even if the student was the one that came on to the teacher, even if the student for years and years and years after said it was completely consensual, even if the student themselves said all of this stuff, the onus is on teachers because they are the adults in that situation. The onus is on them to make sure that nothing happens and that it stops. We don't blame the younger people because they don't know any better. They just became an adult. They just spent the past fucking 15 years or 16 or 17 years with the biggest problem in their life being like high school bullying and like getting C's on their exams. They don't have the same life experiences. If you are the adult in that situation, which I think a 26-year-old with in a position of power, you are the adult in that situation. It is your responsibility to make sure that you are not taking advantage of the power dynamic of the age dynamic. It's not the younger person's fault for not knowing better. It's the older person's fault because they know better and they still engaged in the behavior anyways. Literally the Mary Kay LaTurner case. I don't know if I know that one. I don't think I've seen it, Strawberry Girl, if you want to post it. Also, the social pressure creator fan dynamic. Of course. Rue has definitely been super childish about this entire situation. Who is Rue? Is that one of like the friends? Oh, it's one of I see. It's one of Katie's friends. I don't know any about this. I don't know anything about this. To be clear, like honestly, this is my opinion. And I need it to be clear that this is my opinion. Explicitly that it is an opinion. I believe Dream when he says that she's probably in a friend group that doesn't like them. I believe that. There's a lot of people that don't like Dream and the Dream crew, and there's a lot of people that feel like they've been wronged by people. There are also people that are easy to dislike. I'm sorry if you had to hear it from me. For whatever reason, you're just not, it's like Hillary Clinton, just not likable. The collection of everything is just not likable. And so I believe him when he says that these people didn't like him and that they probably, I wouldn't go so far as to say convinced Katie, because that's stupid, but rather they probably stoked the fires and they were probably excited to see more reason to hate these people. I can believe that. I think I totally believe that. I don't think there's anything about that that's Pokemon Go get consent. Stop. I also believe that there are people that are probably validly upset at any of these characters involved. You're going to have negative experiences with people in the content space. Kind of old. Did you ever go back and watch the Libs of TikTok interview? I thought I'd go back and watch it. It's hilarious. I've only watched bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't really know if there's anything else there. Hi, Meerkat. Hi, Meerkat. He wants my love and attention. Oh, who's a big baby? You are such a baby. You are such a big baby. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. All right. Sorry, I got distracted. But it was fair because he's so adorable. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? What's wrong with your little ear? I guess you're her new mom. So cute. Okay. The problem I have with Dream is in the parasocial way he interacts with fans and the fact that he's defending George with the whole situation when it's obvious you can't consent when you get drunk. Yeah. I mean, I only know of one thing that George did that was that Dream did that was very bad, which is he did a stream in reference to his fans doing doxing, and he downplayed it. To be very clear, he did say don't do it, but he downplayed it a lot. And that is so irresponsible. You as a large creator, if you have fans that are doxing people, you have to be a fucking dictator and say that this is unacceptable. Do not do this. You cannot ever do this. But he was like, oh, you shouldn't do it. But like, honestly, like these are nobodies. Like the people getting doxed, like nothing's gonna happen to them. They're literally random people. And you can't do that as a large content creator. Even if that's what you feel in your heart of hearts, it's too dangerous to say stupid shit like that. I chalked that one up to him being young and an idiot because this was years ago. But yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's on the spectrum. Yeah, has he spoken about it publicly? I don't know. I have no idea.
I leave for 1 second and another Minecraft streamer is being weird, gosh darn it.
And yeah, all of the people that are saying like, why didn't her friend do anything? Why didn't her friend step in? Well, it looks like her friend commented and said, this is probably the last thing I'll say about this for now. Please continue to send your love and support. She needs to Katie. She needs it And she said, it's absolutely devastating seeing people blaming me for what George did to Katie. I already regret that night every day. And I've already apologized to Katie. I was incredibly drunk that night, and I left in a hurry to go throw up in our hotel. I wasn't thinking when I left, and I regret not getting Katie to come back with me. Katie and I have drank together numerous times. Yes, underage drinking is a big no-no, but we were both underage at the time, and it's been so normalized in the US. I thought drinking with my best friend wouldn't be such an issue. I didn't fully process what was happening that night until the next day. I would keep explaining more, but Katie is going to release more evidence, so I'll allow her to do the rest of the talking. I love Katie so much. I hope you guys understand this. I live with so much regret about that night, and I will do everything I can to make it up to her. Listen, Katie, if you're out there and you're seeing this and you're putting together evidence and stuff, hit me up. Okay? Hit me up. I am now offering myself to any and all, well, not all, any content creators that I approve of that want help preparing statements. Okay? Meerkat, your fur is all over the place. The Meerkat. Oh, the Meerkat. Oh, the Meerkat. Look at his coat. He's got such a nice shiny coat. Okay, sorry. I apologize. Galaxy Nina, thank you for the 5 months. Thank you.
Purple heart, purple heart.
Why can't I be like Meerkat? I know, right? What's his secret? Maybe it's Maybelline. Okay. So it looks like that's everything on that. I think you guys understand my position. I don't need to reiterate it another 100 times. Just, Kami, think of it for 15 months. Just, here's the thing. Even if you remove all of the other things, even if there was no malicious intent, even if no one was convincing them to drink, even if George had no idea that she was uncomfortable and did not feel like she was uncomfortable, even if all of that is true, you should never be touching people that are drunk. You should never be doing that. It is just a bad idea. It's a bad idea for everyone involved. And you, as the adult and the person with the power in that situation, it is your responsibility. If your cat eats like a do not eat silica packet, that's not your cat's fault. That's your fault for leaving it out. Are you saying 18-year-olds are cats? No, dipshit. Use your brain for 2 seconds. There's always going to be, there are instances where that's not the case, but in any instances where one person has significantly more power and significantly more experiences and is significantly older, it is now your responsibility. And if you don't want to deal with that, stop hanging out with people that are young fans. Whose message is she reading? This was the message from Ghosty, the best friend of Katie. So I wanted to read with you guys the most recent puns statement that came out. For anyone who missed yesterday's stream, that's everything on the George stuff, unless there are new developments. I think I've made my point. This is, again, sort of like a Colleen Ballinger situation. You as a content creator you should not be that intimate with your fans. You just shouldn't. What is this? Katie posted on Discord. Hello, everyone. Bad timing. Oh, she posted this like 10 minutes ago. I'm getting on a long flight as of now. As Ghosty said, I've seen what was said. I will formulate all I have on the flight for the message as people have asked me to. Once I'm grounded, I'll release it and we'll be away for a bit. I'm telling you this so you don't stay up stressing and know when things will happen. Originally, I did not want to add to this situation with proof. I didn't want to create this idea that it's petty drama and not real life people that have been affected. I also don't want victims to feel like they have to prove themselves to people to be believed. I believe you, but I cannot control how the situation plays out. Yes, I do know that I do not owe it, but I will give it nonetheless. This will be the only proof or response I have, as I don't want to keep proving myself and participating in a drawn out back and forth publicly. The more information and screenshots released, the more complicated everything gets, and the point of all of this becomes lost. I don't want to participate in him proving himself or me doing so. I just wanted to share my story so victims around me know that they aren't alone. I will let people do as they please moving forward, and I will not respond to anything else as well because I need to take time for myself. I have appreciated all those who have supported me, especially those who have reached out to me privately with their stories and those who felt strong enough to publicly come out with them. You aren't alone. Once I'm back in a week, I will stream my final response and message to everyone about the situation and bigger issue at hand, because there is a lot to say before moving on or healing. I love you all.